Hello there. Today we'll be discussing about system of equations, as you can see already written down on the sheet of paper I'm displaying to you. So first of all, let's begin by saying, what is a system of equations? Well, basically put it into my perspective, I'd say a system of equations is when you have two or more lines, and then you compare them to find when those lines will be the same. So, let's look at an example. Here, maybe we should write a group story, okay? So let's say, see, Bob has 64 apples. Let's say, each minute, say he chops down 6 more apples. And let's say this guy named Jerry, he starts off with, let's say, 32 apples, okay? And he eats his apples. He eats 7 apples each minute. Okay. So we have a word problem. I apologize for my messy handwriting. But okay, so first of all, we are given two equations in this word problem. 64 apples is the y-intercept. And then chops down 6 more apples is the slope. So we can find the rule using y equals mx plus b form. It's the slope-intercept form. I heard about it. Yeah, that's how you call it. So again, like I said, 64 is the y-intercept because that's how far you start off with. So B is the y-intercept. B is the y-intercept, and so that means B is 64. So let's plug in our numbers, mx plus b. B is 64, so, and then, he chops down 6 more. He adds 6 more to his total, 64, then he's increasing, right? So it's going to be a positive slope, which means, since he's increasing 6 more each minute, it's going to be y equals 6x plus 64. So that's the slope. And y represents the total amount of apples he has. So that right here was Bob. Now we're going to solve for Jerry, okay? We're going to find Jerry's rule, okay? So let's say he starts off with 32 apples. 32 apples. So that would be his y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b form. Y equals mx plus 32. Starts off with 32. Easy. We got the y-intercept already, b. Now let's find the slope. It says, he eats 7 apples each minute. That means he's wasting 7. Another word of wasting would be subtracting. Subtracting is minus. That means that this, for Jerry, is a negative slope. So, and since it's negative 7, he's eating 7, it'd be negative 7x. X means per minute. Negative 7x per minute. You got me, right? It kind of makes a little sense. Y equals, that means the rule is for Jerry, equals negative 7x plus 32. That is for Jerry, like I said. So, now since we have a rule down, we have to figure out or determine when these rules will have the same amount of apples. How I do this is by doing the equal values method. Now, the equal values method is just when you compare two equations and solve for x and y. So, let's do that. So, we have our equations, negative 7x plus 32, and 6x plus 64. So, we put them together. We would ignore the y, this part, and this part. So, it'd just be 6x plus 64 equals negative 7x plus 32. How simple is that? Quite easy. Okay. So now, have to solve for x. first thing first, we have to get this 32 by itself. So I'm going to add 7x. Add 7x to both sides. That's going to be 13x plus 64 equals 32. Okay? Now I'm going to minus 64 to get this, to get 13x alone. 64, 13x equals negative 32. Okay? 13 divided by 13 to solve for x to get x alone. Boom. Do it for both sides. Boom. Okay. So this is our x coordinate when they're going to be the same. This example is not really representing in a real life situation, because I promise the numbers are going to be a little bit negative, so that wouldn't make sense to be like -1 apples or something like that. But I'm just trying to explain to you how this system of equations things work. So yeah, so we have our x coordinate when they're the same. Now we have to plug that into one of these equations, and we will figure out, yeah, so we're going to figure out our y, and that is when they will have the same, yeah, when Jerry and Bob will have the same amount of apples. So we'll take our x coordinate, negative 32 over 13, and we're going to plug that into one of the equations. Let's use Bob's 6x plus 64. Plug that in. It's going to be 6 times negative 32 over 13 plus 64. So, negative 32 times 6 is negative 192. Over 13. Okay? And then negative 192 divided by 13. Well, we're going to solve that. Okay. What's going to be a negative number? 1.62. 4.62. So 4. So then negative 14 plus 64 is 50. So that means y equals 50. And if we use that same x coordinate and plug into Jerry's rule, we will still come up with that y is 50. Okay? So now we have our, now we know when they are the same, okay? So the x coordinate is negative 32 over 13, and the y coordinate is 50. So we don't really need to care about the time. Let's just look at how many apples will they have? No, like, how many apples will they have when they're the same? Okay? So, 50, y equals the amount of apples they both have. So 50. 50 is your answer. They have 50 apples during the same time. So that's your answer. I hope I was able to show you how to use the equal value method and system equations. Thank you for watching. I hope you were inspired. Bye!